Algebra 1, Lesson 1. Polygons, triangles, transversals, and proportional segments. We'll be doing practice problems A through D. Practice problem A at the beginning of the lesson, found here, gives us a triangle and gives us the length of angle A and asks us to find the length of angle C and B. If you remember from geometry in Algebra 1, these tick marks on the triangle say that this length is equal to this length, even if they don't look the same. These tick marks show that these two lengths are equal. So, with this given information, we know that A is 35. These two lengths being equal means that this is an isosceles triangle, and isosceles triangles have equal base angles. So just by knowledge of isosceles triangles, we know that angle C will equal 35 degrees, and that is true for every isosceles triangle, that these two base angles will be equal to each other. Now to find angle B, we have to use more knowledge we have of triangles, which is that every triangle has all three angles adding up to 180. So just through process of elimination, we can say that 35 plus 35 plus angle B should equal 180. To find angle B, all we have to do is subtract 70, which is these two added together, from 180. That gives us 110 degrees. So angle B equals 110 degrees. Moving on to practice B. We've got another triangle. We're given that this angle is 40 degrees. This exterior angle is 145 degrees, and we need to find X and Y. Again, using knowledge of geometry, we know that all straight lines or straight angles have 180 degrees in them. Right here, this 145 and X makes a straight angle. So we subtract 145 from 180. That gives us 35 degrees, which means that angle X is equal to 35 degrees. Now we'll go back to our knowledge of triangles, which is that all three angles must add up to 180. So if we take 180 minus 40, that gives us 140, so that one's done. Then we have to subtract the other 35, which gives us 105 degrees for angle Y. So then Y equals 105. And if you wanted to check your answers on either one of these problems, you just have to add up all three angles and make sure that they come out to 180. Moving on to practice C, parallel lines and their transversals. So again, parallel lines, two lines that go and will never intersect. Transversals are straight lines that cross through parallel lines. Starting with C. We're given that this angle is 130 degrees, and we need to find the value of A, B, and C. Again, we'll use our straight line theorem, or our straight line knowledge, which is that this straight line being a straight angle adds up to 180. So 180 minus 130 would give us angle A. That gives us 50 degrees, so angle A equals 50 degrees. Then we have to go into our knowledge of parallel lines and transversals, which is that this transversal creates the same intersection at each set of parallel lines. So angle A and angle C are corresponding angles in these parallel lines, which means that they are also equal to each other. So A is equal to C, which means C is equal to 50 degrees. Right? And then lastly, we could also say that 130 is a corresponding angle to 2B. So we would say that 130 degrees is equal to 2B degrees. Now this last one we have to solve as an equation because we don't want to know this angle, which is 130. We want to know what B is. They say that 2 times B is equal to 130. So to solve for B, we just use some simple equations. Divide by the coefficient of 2 on each side. 130 divided by 2 gives us 65 degrees. So A is 50, B is 65, and C is also 50. Okay, very last problem. Finding unknown from a transversal cut by multiple parallel lines. These segments are proportional to each other, so we can kind of set this up as a proportional equation. All we're going to do is say that this segment, as related to this segment, is going to be equal to the proportion of this segment to this segment. We set that up as an equation like this. 3 over 4 over 6 over 5 is equal to the proportion of 5 over 3 to x. To solve this proportion, we cross multiply. That helps us rewrite the problem, so this gets rewritten as 3/4 times x equals 6 over 5 times 5 over 3. Before we multiply, we can cross cancel. Those will both turn into 1. That becomes 1, that becomes 2. So then we just get 3/4 x equals 2. To solve for x, we multiply by the reciprocal or the inverse to cancel those out, and then we do it to this side as well, turning that 2 into a fraction. 2 times 4 gives us 8 over 3. So the value is 8 over 3.